The name Vidkun Quisling is forever etched in history. It is not a name whispered with reverence or admiration. Instead, it is synonymous with betrayal, a byword for treachery. Quisling's story is a chilling reminder of the seductive power of extremism and the devastating consequences of collaboration. His actions left an indelible mark on history. Vidkun Quisling's path to notoriety began with his rise to prominence in Norwegian politics. Initially, he was viewed as a man of principle, someone who could potentially steer Norway towards a brighter future. His early speeches resonated with a populace that was yearning for stability and strong leadership in uncertain times.
Quisling's speech. I have always acted in the best interests of Norway. My actions were driven by a desire to protect our nation and ensure its prosperity. History will judge me, but I stand by my decisions.
He was appointed as Minister of Defence in the early 1930s, a position that allowed him to wield considerable influence. His policies, though controversial, were initially seen as attempts to fortify Norway against external threats. Quisling's ability to present himself as a patriot and protector of Norwegian values garnered him a significant following. However, beneath the veneer of nationalism and dedication lay a more sinister agenda. Quisling's rhetoric began to shift, subtly at first, towards a more exclusionary and xenophobic ideology. His speeches started to reflect a growing alignment with fascist principles, laying the groundwork for what would become a dark chapter in Norway's history. The seeds of betrayal were sown during this rise to power, as Quisling's ambitions began to overshadow his proclaimed loyalty to Norway. His journey from a respected political figure to a symbol of treachery was set in motion, driven by a complex interplay of personal ambition, ideological conviction, and opportunistic alliances. This period of ascendancy was marked by a duality in Quisling's character, a public face of patriotism and a private descent into the allure of authoritarianism. It was a rise that would soon lead to his infamous fall, as the true nature of his ambitions became increasingly apparent. As we delve deeper into Quisling's life, we uncover the layers of his formative years and the influences that shaped his trajectory. Born in Norway in 1887, Vidkun Quisling's early years were marked by a blend of promise and potential. Vidkun Quisling's early life held promise. He was a bright and ambitious young man, showing signs of brilliance from a very young age. He excelled academically, particularly in mathematics and science, and soon embarked on a military career. His dedication and skill quickly earned him a reputation as a capable and intelligent officer. He earned recognition for his humanitarian efforts in Russia during the famine of 1921. Quisling's work in aiding the famine-stricken regions showcased his ability to lead and his compassion for those in dire need. However, beneath the surface of this promising start, the seeds of authoritarianism were taking root. His experiences in Russia exposed him to the harsh realities of political upheaval and social chaos. Quisling's experiences in Russia, witnessing the tumultuous aftermath of the Bolshevik Revolution, profoundly shaped his worldview. The instability and suffering he observed left a lasting impression on him. He developed a deep distrust of communism and a growing fascination with strongman politics. This period of his life was crucial in forming the ideological foundations that would later define his controversial political career. Influenced by various mentors and early experiences, Quisling's formative years were a complex tapestry of ambition, idealism, and the early stirrings of authoritarian thought. Returning to Norway, Quisling's political ambitions took shape. He was determined to make a significant impact on the country's political landscape. He served as defense minister, where his actions during labor disputes and his focus on combating communism raised his profile. Quisling's hardline stance against communism resonated with many Norwegians who feared the spread of Bolshevik influence. However, his increasingly authoritarian tendencies drew criticism. Many saw his methods as heavy-handed and undemocratic, leading to growing unease among his peers and the public. In 1933, he founded the National Samling, or National Unity Party, a political movement that mirrored the fascist ideologies sweeping across Europe. The party aimed to consolidate power and promote a vision of a unified, strong Norway. National Samling's platform was a toxic blend of nationalism, anti-communism, and a dangerous undercurrent of racial purity. The party's rhetoric emphasized the need for a homogeneous society, free from foreign influences and ideologies that they deemed harmful to the Norwegian way of life. This xenophobic stance attracted a following, but also sowed seeds of division and intolerance within the nation. As Europe edged closer to war, Quisling's admiration for Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany grew. He saw in Hitler a kindred spirit, a leader who shared his vision of a racially pure and authoritarian state. When Germany invaded Norway in April 1940, Quisling saw his opportunity. With the backing of the Nazi regime, he attempted to seize power, declaring himself prime minister in a brazen act of betrayal. Quisling's coup ultimately failed, thwarted by the resistance of the Norwegian people and the legitimate government. However, his willingness to collaborate with the Nazis cemented his fate. He became the head of a puppet government, a regime that served the interests of the Nazi occupiers rather than the needs of the Norwegian people. Under Quisling's watch, Nazi policies were implemented with brutal efficiency. The decline of Quisling's authority. Despite his collaboration, Quisling's grip on power was tenuous. The Norwegian people, recognizing him for the traitor he was, mounted a campaign of resistance. As the tide of war turned against Germany, Quisling's authority waned further. He became increasingly isolated, a puppet ruler clinging to power as the Nazi regime crumbled around him. This chapter delves into the dramatic and consequential trial of Vidkun Quisling, a name synonymous with betrayal and treachery during World War II. With the defeat of Nazi Germany in 1945, the world saw the end of a dark era. The collapse of the Third Reich marked the beginning of justice for those who had collaborated with the Nazis. Quisling's reign of terror came to an end. He was swiftly apprehended by the authorities, bringing relief to a nation that had suffered under his oppressive rule. He was arrested and charged with treason, collaboration, and war crimes. These charges reflected the gravity of his actions and the immense betrayal he had committed against his own country. His trial was a public reckoning, a highly anticipated event that drew the attention of the entire nation. It was a moment for the Norwegian people to see justice served. It was a chance for the Norwegian people to confront the man who had betrayed their trust. The courtroom was filled with emotions as witnesses recounted the horrors of his regime. Found guilty, Quisling was sentenced to death. The verdict was a clear message that treachery and collaboration with the enemy would not be tolerated. On October 24, 1945, the sentence was carried out. The day marked the culmination of justice for the countless lives affected by his actions. He was executed by firing squad, a method chosen to signify the severity of his crimes. The execution was witnessed by a select few, ensuring that the final chapter of his life was documented. His life ending in ignominy, Vidkun Quisling's name became a byword for treason. His execution served as a stark reminder of the consequences of betraying one's country. Quisling's enduring stain on history. Vidkun Quisling's name has become a universal symbol of treachery, his legacy forever tarnished by his actions during World War II. His story serves as a chilling reminder of the seductive allure of extremism and the devastating consequences of sacrificing one's principles for power. His name, once spoken with ambition, is now uttered with contempt, a permanent stain on the pages of history.